Welcome to the Direct Data Entry, or DDE, training module created by the Ohio Department of Aging. The DDE will replace the Data Entry module, or DEM, currently used by many passport providers to enter and submit PIMS invoices to passport administrative agencies, or PAAs. This module will cover invoice entry, invoices in progress, how to edit an invoice, how to submit an invoice, how to generate a cover sheet. To enter an invoice, you must be logged in as a provider operator, a PAA administrator, or a PAA operator working on behalf of a provider. In this example, we will be logged in as a provider operator. From the invoice screen, click the Start a New Invoice button. The blank invoice entry screen will appear. An invoice draft is automatically saved in the system and added to the Invoices in Progress list once the Add Services button is clicked. Data is saved every time an action or modification is made to the invoice. Now we are ready to enter data into our invoice. Invoice number. Enter an invoice number. Limit is 10 characters. Invoice comments. Enter a comment to describe the invoice. Consumers. Type any part of the consumer's first or last name or the consumer number. Select the consumer from the list that populates. The consumers listed are specific to the location. Or, click the consumer list icon to populate a list of consumers. Use Control to select individual consumers or Shift to select a group of consumers. Click Submit to select the consumers. Service code. Click the service code list icon to populate the list of available service codes. Click the drop-down arrow to see the list of available codes. You can only select one service code. Click Submit. Or type the first characters of the service code description or the service code number. Select the service code from the list that populates. Displayed will be a description of the service code, unit of measure, service code number, and if it is a pass-through or not. Pass-through. If you attempt to change the pass-through code, an error will appear. The value is based on the service code selected and it cannot be changed. Units or amounts. When the service is a non-pass-through, then a whole number, positive or negative, is entered. Amounts do not appear for non-pass-through services. Amounts will be applied when the PAA receives the invoice. When the service is a pass-through, enter the appropriate dollar amount for the pass-through services. If you attempt to add services with an incorrect unit or value entered, the system will return an error. To fix the error, the user will need to correct the unit or amount entered. Service dates. At least one service date must be selected from the calendar. Click Previous to display the previous month. Click Current to display the current month, and click Next to display the next month. Dates can be selected and deselected by clicking the checkbox under the date to select or deselect an individual day or days, clicking the name of the week to select or deselect all those dates, clicking the month to select or deselect all the days in the month. Comment about this line item. If necessary, type a comment about this line item. Limit of 512 characters. Add services. After the consumer's service code, dates, and comments are selected and entered, click the Add Services button. This will populate the detailed line section and a confirmation will be generated by the system. Continue your billing by entering services for consumers on the same invoice. The user has 4 options. The user can stop and finish the invoice later. An invoice draft is automatically saved in the system and added to the Invoices in Progress list on the Invoices page. The invoice remains in progress until submitted. The user can delete the invoice. The user can edit the invoice before submitting. The user can submit the invoice. All 4 options will be covered next. Stop and finish the invoice later. If the user wants to stop and finish the invoice later, click on the Invoices button to display the invoice status screen. If necessary, select Invoices in Progress from the Invoice View option. This will display invoices not yet submitted to ODA. The user is able to select an invoice and make edits and changes. Invoices stay in progress until submitted. Delete an invoice. Select an invoice from the Invoices in Progress list. The Invoice Entry screen is displayed. If the user needs to remove an entire invoice, click the Remove Invoice button. A confirmation is returned that the invoice has been removed from the system. A deleted invoice cannot be retrieved. How to edit the invoice before submitting. Select an invoice from the Invoices in Progress list. The Invoice Entry screen is displayed. Detail line row count. In this example, the first 15 rows of billing detail is displayed. Click the Next button to show the next 15 rows. Click the Previous button to show the previous 15 rows. Click the drop-down arrow next to Row Count to display additional rows. Up to 10,000 rows can be displayed. How to search detail lines. To conduct a search, enter a search string in the search text box. The client, date, and service code columns will be searched. Click Search. The system will return the result of the search. Click Clear to clear out the results of the search and display all detail lines of the invoice. Change units or rate on the invoice. In this example, we are going to change the units for services on specific dates for a consumer. We will conduct a search for consumer 241945. Note the total units for this consumer is 21. To change the units or rate for specific services in the invoice, click the Update checkbox for the specific lines. In this example, we're going to change the units for services dated July 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th. In the New Unit or New Rate text box, enter the revised value. Click the Update Units Rate for Checked Lines button. A confirmation will be generated by the system. Note the total units for this consumer is now 29. Delete services on an invoice. In this example, we are going to delete services for a consumer for specific dates. We will conduct a search for consumer 103495. Note the total units for this consumer is 29. To delete lines from an invoice, click the Delete checkbox for the specific lines. In this example, we are going to delete services for July 20th, 21st, 24th, and 25th. Click the Delete Checked Lines button to remove these lines from the invoice. Note the total units for this consumer is now 23. Edit an individual line. In this example, we are going to edit an individual line. We will conduct a search for consumer 103757. Click Edit next to the individual line to change the service code, units or amount or service date. The consumer cannot be changed. In this example, we will change the date for an individual line. Invoice information for the individual line will appear. To change the service code, click the list icon and select the correct service code from the dialog box. Click Submit. To change the units or amount, enter the new unit or amount. To change the service date, click the calendar icon next to the date text box to display the calendar. Click the forward or back icons to go forward or back a month, or click the drop-down arrow to change the month or year. To close the dialog box without making any changes, click Close. In this example, we will change the date from July 24th to July 3rd. If you need to cancel without making any changes, click the Cancel button. If you want to make the necessary changes, click the Apply Changes button. The system will return a confirmation. Submit the invoice. It is important to remember that once an invoice has been submitted, it cannot be edited or changed. Once all charges have been entered and edits or changes confirmed, click Submit Invoice. A confirmation dialog box will appear. Click OK to submit the invoice, or click Cancel to cancel the Submit Invoice process. If you decide to cancel, the user will be brought back to the invoice information screen. When you submit the invoice, the user will receive a confirmation from the system. The details of the invoice will be displayed. Generate a cover sheet. Click the Generate a Cover Sheet button to create the passport invoice for Direct Services cover sheet. Click the browser's Print button to send to the printer. Click the browser's Back button to return to the submitted invoice details. Click the Invoices button to display the invoice status page. In this example, we have one invoice still in progress. Remember, we had 3. One was deleted and one was submitted. Note, our submitted invoice moved from invoices in progress to invoices submitted to ODA. Click Log Out to log out of the application. This concludes the Invoice Entry training module. Thank you.